Not too long ago, I was staying at a friend's place out in the countryside. One of those classic weekend getaways. Big yard, trees all around, a crackling fire pit in the middle. We had skewers on the grill, drinks going around, loud laughter, a big group, the kind where conversations overlap and nobody's really in a hurry to go home. As usually happens when the night gets deeper and the fire starts burning lower, someone brought up paranormal stuff. Just casually at first. "Oh, have you ever heard about?" "Yeah, my grandma used to say." And once that door opened, there was no stopping it. Everyone jumped in. Campfire horror stories, creepy childhood memories, old village legends, ghost sightings, forest spirits, witches who lived on the edge of town. The flames flickered, shadows danced on the trees, and even the most ridiculous stories suddenly felt a little less funny in the dark. "That's enough," Peter suddenly said, half laughing, half annoyed. Peter was one of those guys, the skeptic. The type who rolled his eyes whenever someone mentioned curses or spirits. He looked genuinely tired of listening to stories about swamp creatures and haunted barns. "Come on," he added, waving his hand. "Forest spirits? Village witches? Seriously?" A few people chuckled. Then he leaned forward slightly, staring into the fire. "But if you really want to hear something," he said, slower now, "listen to what happened to my sister." The way he said it changed everything. His voice dropped. No sarcasm. No smile. The laughter died instantly. Someone stopped chewing mid-bite. Another person lowered their drink without even realizing it. Even the fire seemed quieter somehow. From that moment on, Peter had everyone's full attention. Peter speaking. "Let me start with this. My sister Maria is a normal person. Completely sane. She barely drinks, never does drugs, no addictions, no mental issues, no medical conditions. I'm saying this up front, just so there's no confusion later. Anyway. One summer, she went out of town with a group of friends. Nothing unusual. Just a regular weekend trip, the kind people take all the time to get away from the city. They weren't alone, obviously, a small group of close friends, people she trusted. The picnic was at a country house owned by one of her friends. It was still warm outside, that perfect kind of summer evening where the air smells like grass and smoke. They had meat sizzling over an open fire, someone brought a guitar, people were singing off-key, laughing too loud, talking about life, relationships, stupid memories from school. That kind of night where everything feels easy. And honestly, everything was great. Even the mosquitoes didn't ruin the mood. They were everywhere, buzzing around, biting ankles and arms, but no one really cared. People just laughed it off, slapped their skin, kept drinking, kept talking. There was only one slightly awkward thing. The house wasn't finished yet. The building itself was still half under construction, and the yard hadn't been properly set up. No paths, no lights, no fence. And no bathroom. They just hadn't gotten around to building one yet. So whenever someone needed to pee, they'd head off into the bushes. Or walk over to the neighboring plot, an abandoned piece of land, overgrown and dark, where you could easily disappear from view and not worry about nosy summer residents watching you from their porches. It wasn't ideal, but everyone just joked about it. At that age, things like that don't really bother you. They kept hanging out for hours. The sky slowly darkened, the fire burned lower, conversations got quieter and more personal. One by one, people started yawning, stretching, checking their phones. By around 2 in the morning, the energy finally began to fade. Someone said they were crashing on the couch. Another grabbed a blanket and headed inside. A couple people decided to sleep in their cars. Slowly, the group broke apart, laughter turning into murmured goodnights. The night felt calm. Peaceful. And that's when things should have ended. But they didn't. Everyone eventually found a spot inside the house. Some claimed the beds. Others took couches, a few just crashed on the floor with blankets. At some point, Maria curled up too. She was exhausted, and the moment her head touched the pillow, she fell asleep. But she didn't sleep for long. She woke up with that sharp, uncomfortable urge you can't ignore. The kind that pulls you straight out of a deep sleep and leaves you no choice. She lay there for a second, listening. The house was completely quiet. No laughter. No music. No voices. Just silence. So she got up and stepped outside. And that's when she realized something felt off. The yard was empty. Totally empty. No people. No movement. No glowing phone screens. No half-drunk cups lying around. It was like everyone had vanished. Her entire group had gone to sleep or left without her noticing. She checked her phone. A little after 4 in the morning. The warm summer night was slowly giving way to early dawn. The air felt cooler now, heavier somehow, and the sky was beginning to lighten at the edges. Standing there, Maria looked around, trying to decide where it would be safest to go. At first, she didn't want to wander too far from the house. The bushes nearby seemed like the obvious choice. But then she heard something. Voices. Muffled at first, then clearer. Some kind of movement coming from the neighboring plot. People talking, footsteps, the faint clatter of metal or tools. Whoever lived there was already awake, busy with something. Great, she thought. Early risers. The last thing she wanted was to run into strangers at 4 in the morning in an unfinished yard. And that's when she remembered the abandoned lot. The one on the other side of her friend's house. The overgrown plot nobody used anymore. Dark, quiet, hidden from view. No neighbors. No curious eyes. It seemed like the better option. So Maria turned away from the house and headed in that direction. She didn't think about it for long. Maria just turned and hurried toward the abandoned lot. The ground there was uneven, overgrown, completely neglected. She pushed her way through wild bushes, raspberry canes, tangled currant branches, trying to find a spot far enough from the house where no one could see her. That's when she heard it. A child crying. Clear. Sharp. Real. At first, she didn't react. Her sleepy brain brushed it off automatically. Probably someone's kid woke up early, she thought. After all, she had just heard voices from the neighboring yard. But then the crying didn't fade. It got closer. Too close. The sound wasn't coming from far away. It wasn't drifting through the air. It was right there. Somewhere inside the bushes. Right next to her. Maria stopped. Her heart started pounding for no clear reason. She listened again. The crying was uneven, desperate, not loud, but piercing, like it was tearing itself out of a tiny chest. Slowly, she reached out and parted the branches in front of her. And then she saw it. About 3 steps away, lying directly in the grass, was a baby. Completely naked. Just there. Alone. For a split second, Maria couldn't move. Her mind went blank. Her body locked up like someone had hit a switch. The image didn't make sense. It didn't belong there. Not at 4 in the morning. Not on an abandoned lot. Her first thought was horrifyingly logical. Someone dumped it. Some desperate woman. A mother who didn't want the child. Drove out here in the night and left it behind, hoping no one would find it. Or hoping someone would. The thought made her stomach twist. She snapped out of it and lunged forward, closing the distance in a single step. She bent down over the small, screaming body, reaching out instinctively. And that's when she really looked at its face. The baby's face was twisted. Not red and scrunched the way babies cry. Twisted in a way that made no sense. The mouth was pulled too wide. The eyes were wrong, not unfocused, not glassy, but sharp. A strained, unnatural expression stretched across its tiny features, like a bad imitation of pain. Like something trying very hard to pretend. It didn't look like a baby anymore. It didn't even look human. Maria recoiled instantly, stumbling backward, her breath catching in her throat. And in that same second, the thing in the grass moved. What had been lying there suddenly snapped upright, fast, violently, and dropped onto all fours. The crying cut off mid-sound. No struggle. No hesitation. It bolted. Not crawling. Not toddling. Running. Straight through the bushes, limbs moving in sharp, jerky motions, disappearing into the darkness with impossible speed. Maria screamed. Then she ran. She spun around and tore back the way she came, branches whipping her arms, thorns tearing at her skin, adrenaline drowning out everything else. She didn't look back. She didn't slow down. She didn't stop until she reached her friend's house, lungs burning, heart trying to tear its way out of her chest. She burst into the yard, shaking, convinced that whatever she had seen was still right behind her. And to this day, she swears it wasn't a child. She didn't make it far alone. People were already running toward her. Her screaming had ripped through the quiet like an alarm. It dragged everyone out of sleep at once, people stumbling out of the house barefoot, half awake, confused, terrified. Someone thought there was a fire. Someone else thought she was being attacked. They met her in the yard. Maria was shaking so badly she could barely stand. She couldn't get the words out at first, just gasping, pointing back toward the bushes, tears streaming down her face. Her friends grabbed her, pulled her closer to the house, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders while she tried to breathe. When she finally managed to speak, what she said didn't calm anyone down. Quite the opposite. No one went back to the abandoned lot. No one went looking. No one suggested checking it out just to be sure. They locked the doors. Turned on every light. Sat together until the sun came up, listening to every sound outside, flinching whenever something moved in the grass. Maria never slept again that night. And that was it. That's the story. Peter stopped talking. For a few seconds, no one around our fire said a word. We were just sitting there, staring at him, mouths slightly open, like we'd forgotten how to close them. Even the crackling of the fire suddenly felt too loud. Honestly, saying we listened with full attention doesn't even begin to cover it. A couple of people shifted uncomfortably. Someone nervously laughed, then immediately stopped when no one else joined in. Another guy muttered, "Yeah. I kinda wish I hadn't asked you to finish that." After that, we argued for a long time. Some said it had to be an animal. Others insisted it was a prank, someone's sick joke. A few tried to explain it away as exhaustion, darkness, panic, imagination. None of the explanations really worked. Every theory fell apart the moment you tried to picture it clearly. So we stayed by the fire. All night. No one wandered off alone. No one went into the trees. Even bathroom breaks turned into group trips, with phones in hand and eyes scanning the dark. The fire burned low. The sky slowly lightened. Morning came eventually. But whatever mood we'd had earlier that evening never came back. And even now, I still catch myself thinking about one thing Peter never answered. If that thing wasn't a child, then what was it pretending to be?